Having the right type of dash cam for your vehicle is going to make a big difference. We've got a four-wheel drive here with a canopy on the back, and that poses a significant problem if we want to have a front and rear camera, which is something that we recommend. We have no association with any dash cam manufacturers or any dash cam retailers. This is purely based on our own research, what we're going to be fitting to this vehicle. And let's take a look at some of the challenges that we might have here. So one of the challenges with a utility vehicle like this with a canopy is we've got a nice wrap on our back window, which means that we can't mount a rear-facing camera inside the canopy area here. So we've got to find another position for it, and we don't want to go drilling into the roof and have any sort of camera hanging off the top. What we've done is actually found a camera that's designed for trucks, and we're going to be looking at mounting it down here next to the number plate. Now, that might seem like a funny place to put a dash cam, but it's better than no dash cam at all. And when you're sort of looking at what are the options of fitting it to a vehicle like this on the back, there's not a lot of options. So we need to be sort of a bit creative with this. We really do want to have a rear camera, and we're going to be trying to make a Blackvue truck camera fit a four-wheel drive Triton like this with a canopy on the back. So that's what we're going to do. Let's go and unbox it and see what we get. Let's go ahead and open it up now and see what's inside the box. So just opening it up, unboxing it. Just cut through these tags here. Obviously, what's actually inside the box will determine how hard it's going to be to fit. So very well presented. Obviously transported the right way so it doesn't damage it, but that's the main forward facing camera. So it's got everything you need there to mount it. Comes with a nice little cover that's over the top of the lens, which is very important to protect it. And if we go and have a look at what else is in here, got obviously some manuals, how to set it up. So the heavy vehicle dash cam is actually designed for a truck. In here, looks like we might have some, oh, that's the rear camera. Right, so for the rear, that's able to be mounted externally. Most vehicles would have this camera fitted inside the vehicle, but because we're fitting it to a truck type vehicle, we actually need to be able to fit this to the outside. So looks like we've got the mounting bracket, plus we've got a hood. So the hood is obviously to protect it from sunlight and things like that. So depending on where you want to fit this camera, it is actually very well designed. So that's our mounting bracket. That's our hood, which is going to be for making sure that we get a really good quality picture coming into that camera on the rear. Also has, from what I believe, an infrared option that gives it a better operation at night time. And I'm assuming this is going to be our cables. There's some brackets, some clips and things like that to be able to run the cables, some screws. That's probably going to be for the rear camera. And I'm assuming there is a USB and also a memory card in there too. Cable, now that's obviously linking the front camera to the rear. We're going to have to look at that. And we've also got our power cable by the look of that. So it's a nice, neat packaging. Looks like we can connect it, very well marked. You've got battery positive, you got earth, and then you've got accessories. So that's obviously so it can be powered, whether you're at the vehicle or not. And we've also got an option to plug it into a cigarette lighter. So if you don't want to hardwire it, which is what this is for, I'm assuming this allows you to plug it into a cigarette lighter. So that just means if you're not very handy with hooking something like this into the hard wire of your vehicle, you can actually just cheat and do it the easy way. The trouble with this though is it probably won't give you activation if the vehicle is not running. So That means that if your ignition is not on or if your accessories aren't on, your camera won't be working, and therefore you're not going to get the full use or functionality out of this. So very well presented. We've got everything we need. So if you're going to try and install this yourself, you need to know how all this works, and that requires you to actually read one of these things, a fitting manual. So I would encourage you to do that. Learn more about your dash cam before you go fitting it to your vehicle.
So we've got our forward-facing camera that we need to attach to our windscreen. So one of the first things you want to do is get a cloth, make sure that the screen is clean where you want to fit it. Now, I like to fit it somewhere here right in the middle of the screen. And if I come back to my driving position here, it actually doesn't affect my vision at all because it's actually below my interior mirror, and that means I'm not going to be impeded by where this is positioned. So people like sticking them in a position that's going to actually block your vision is not very smart. So we don't want our dash cam to actually cause us a problem. One of the good things about this Blackvue forward-facing camera is you can actually adjust the turn of it. So once you've actually got the position on the screen, you can actually turn it to adjust the height and where it's going to see. So we've gone ahead and cleaned this screen with a nice cloth. I'm just going to peel off the backing now. We've got that sticky bit off now, which means that the adhesive can stick to the windscreen. But check to make sure you're fitting the camera in the right direction. So you don't want to be putting it upside down because that might make some configuration issues down the track. So try and make sure you're fitting it the right way up. The other thing we need to do is make sure the thing is level. So when you're fitting it up, positioning it so it is actually level on your windscreen. So you wouldn't want it sort of sitting one way or another because that's going to actually ruin the view that this guy provides for you when you've got it going. So that's there in position pretty tight. I can now move that around and actually it'll be able to nicely position there. So that's nice center in the windscreen, which means it's going to get a good view of what's happening ahead of us.
So we've gone and fitted the rear camera now to the back of the ute, and as you can see we couldn't mount it high because we've obviously got a canopy in the way and there's no way for us to mount that camera externally other than in this position here. So we managed to avoid the jacking hole point here, which allows you to put the release in for the spare wheel. Believe it or not, it's actually giving us pretty good vision. We had to remove the hood which was on top there, which was obviously designed to keep light out of the actual camera itself. That was fouling on the back of the tailgate here. So there's some changes that we had to do in fitting this camera here. But if you've been looking for a solution to get a dash cam on your ute or your truck, this Blackvue camera that's designed for trucks is what I would say your best option. So it gives you an opportunity to fit it up like we have here, and we've obviously got the cabling running through along the chassis rail, so it's quite safe. It's all tied in place up through the engine bay and then down in through the cabin that way. And then we've managed to actually route the cable up through the trim, so you can't see any cables on the inside either. The Blackvue kit came with a trim tool which allowed you to actually get up in there and put those cables away in a place that was out of sight and out of mind. Setting up the app, you actually do that via your mobile phone. So it's got Android or Apple phone option. You get that through the App Store. Now, that was a little bit tricky to set up. Blackvue have a monthly subscription if you want to access these cameras anywhere at any time. It's quite costly. It's about $12 US per month. So because we're here in Australia, that adds up to probably closer to $15 or $16 a month. And I think probably for the use of that, it's not that great. One thing I don't like about that, you can actually jump into the portal that you have online, so you can actually go into your account and up comes a map of all the people with their subscription. You can actually log into their camera and see what's going on. So I was actually tracking someone who was driving down at Palm Beach this morning when I was having a look at that. So I'm not a big fan of that. I think from a privacy point of view, I don't know, it just doesn't feel right to me. So this version is you can access your footage via Wi-Fi. So that means your phone needs to be connected to the Blackvue inside the vehicle via Wi-Fi. Obviously you won't do that while driving. You need to be idle when you do that, but you can see all the footage that's been taken. So if you've had a collision, what you can do is hook up to the camera and download the footage to the app from the camera. So you can actually have the real-time footage of what's just happened to you live on your phone pretty much after it's happened. That's a really good feature in itself. It does take time for you to actually go through and establish which is the correct footage for the incident, but we've put some examples in this video of how the vision looks. As with any of the dash cams, the forward-facing camera got a little bit sort of interfered with reflection off the front windscreen while driving into the sun, but driving away from the sun, the vision's actually really good. I'm really surprised at how well this rear camera works, and yet to trial it at night though, so we'll give that a crack a bit later on. I'm thinking all in all, if you're looking for a dash cam that goes on a truck or a four-wheel drive like this one, and you don't have provision, I mean many four-wheel drives don't even have provision for a canopy on the back if it's a utility, this is a good option. But just be careful where you're setting this up. It's not going to interfere with the tailgate, and also you want to be able to get the access to your spare wheel with your jack handle that goes in through there to lower your spare wheel down too, if your spare wheel's still mounted under like that. So it might take a little bit of lateral thinking about how to set this up. We were managed to get the wiring all hooked up through the fuse panel, which is located on the front left kick panel of the passenger side here. All the wiring is contained inside. Other good thing about this camera as well, which I like, it has a parking mode. So while it's sitting there parking, it's continuously recording in parking mode. And so if someone bumps the vehicle, or someone rocks the vehicle or does something like that, it'll start recording front and rear. You can change the sensitivity on that. I found that the sensitivity was high. You might need to play around with some of those settings. Through the app, you can also adjust the time, so your time zone, and that automatically syncs with where you're located. And you can also adjust the date as well, which is really important. If you're going to set up a dash cam, make sure that your date and time stamp that's being provided on the actual logged film events is accurate, because the last thing you would want is to say, oh well, this incident occurred at this time, and then your date is completely wrong, your timing is completely wrong. The other thing to be aware of is that your dash cam footage will show your speed. So there's a GPS in the actual unit itself, and it does actually record your speed. So, you know, while dash cams can be very good at proving your innocence, they can also be really good at proving your fault, and maybe have a think about your own conduct before pointing the finger at other people. There's lots of vigilantes out there who install these sorts of things and go on the rampage and start putting all sorts of videos out about what other people are doing. You want to really ensure that if you are going to be putting footage out there, it's not of a frivolous nature. You can provide police with this sort of footage if you believe someone has done something really wrong. They will act on it, but don't be wasting their time with trivial stuff like someone didn't use an indicator or something like that. I mean, people do make mistakes on our roads. I do understand that that can be frustrating, and I do understand that that might be something that annoys you, but the last thing the police need is a whole bunch of people sending in footage from cameras that's just going to tie their time up and take them away from legitimate policing work that they need to be doing. So be conscious of the sort of stuff that you're actually putting out there. From my perspective now, if you don't have a dash cam that's functional and operational, you're actually leaving yourself at risk. This is another piece of insurance for you. Should something go wrong, you can then prove your innocence. But obviously, that does come back to your own conduct on the road and your own understanding of the road rules too. So make sure that you're going to be doing the right thing there. And obviously we can help you out with driving programs through our Steer Safely program. So if you want to reskill yourself, come up to speed on that, then by all means come and do one of our courses. Hope you liked the video. If you do, give us a thumbs up. We might do a bit more in-depth videos coming up of some of the footage that we're getting out of this as time goes on. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you'll see more of this sort of stuff as it comes through. Cheers.